Hey guys, welcome back. So now with us recently doing some talk on Dark Detective, I wanted to jump right back in for like the B-side of issue 2, where we get a bit of the update on the Jason Todd situation, because where he comes in, he has a few mysteries that are unfolding as well. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping in and kind of setting the stage. Prior to this point, we've been given the general information that Jason Todd, that he had been working with the magistrate. And I think the information was given out ahead of time, because when you're filling out this huge timeline and giving information about different moments that are like decades apart, you can't really be too obscure about too much, because then all the readers are going to be like, okay, future state, everything in the future is a mystery. I got it. But instead, I think they took the better route of just dropping the different bombshells and then explaining them as the story moves along. And in this case, towards the latter part of Future State Dark Detective issue 2, we jump in with Jason Todd, who's getting out of bed like he's in a music video, but right away we see him get a mask alert from the magistrate, which takes us right into him suiting up and wasting no time going after his bounty. And like with the way that Joshua Williamson does this, like he knows that we know that there's a bit of this elephant in the room with Jason Todd working for the magistrate, to whom, as far as public information goes, they killed Batman. And on top of that, with this being like post A-Day, which is what they called the incident which had taken place at Arkham. But in the case of Red Hood, we don't jump in with an explanation to why, or even this monologue of him explaining how he came to this, but instead we're given like these clues along the way. And when we see the Hood bring in one of his bounties, who's hysterically yelling Batman lives, this kind of gives us the first indication of why Jason Todd is doing what he's doing. Because then also, on top of that, like when that guy is hauled off, another bounty that was taken by his partner, that bounty then rolls in on a stretcher, and it shows us quickly that unlike most who are working with the magistrate, Jason Todd makes sure that he brings in whoever the bounty is alive. And between him and his partner who are mentioned here, their kill to capture ratio are night and day. And we'll get to more of that in a little bit. But it's here not long after Jason brings in his most recent bounty, he then gets another mask alert about this Red Hood gang, with their masks and outfits modeled after the original Red Hood gang. But instead, this group is notorious from robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. And I guess like in the future, somewhere along the way, the different hoods got mixed up. But for these guys, like that's their thing. Steal from the needy, give to the greedy, and like aside from the appearance, there are no other like Red Hood types of ties. But with Jason seeing the alert and going after these guys, members of the magistrate, they mess with Jason Todd a little bit, kind of like, man, look at that, they copied the flow that you copied. But like aside from the magistrate kind of messing with him, you then have like your torn members of Gotham, with some believing Batman's alive, some believing that he's dead. But regardless of where they stand on their thoughts of Batman, everyone pretty much agrees that they hate the Red Hood. But with Jason checking out the sighting, he really just comes to the conclusion that this Red Hood gang, they were robbing a food truck. And going from there, he takes the information he needs and he hits like a Chatsubo bar for a little bit. And when he gets here, it's one of the things that we see a bit more of, to where on one hand at the crime scene, Jason had people yelling at him and calling him a mass killer, which he isn't, but it's like the case where you work with a magistrate, you're just one of them. Like that's the perspective. But with the contrast you have, it's like on one side, you had the people who are saying Batman lives and defending the Red Hood gang and saying that Batman's still alive. But in the case of these dudes in the bar, they very much believe that Batman is dead. And on top of that, they don't care for anyone who wears a mask. And it just further goes to show you more of the everybody hates Jason thing going on. But with Jason being at this bar and he orders a drink and he's nearly attacked by these dudes from the bar, but then they're all taken out by a blur who had just happened to be Rose Wilson, Jason Todd's partner, and in more ways than just the magistrate. But when she gets here and she starts telling him about the mass bounty that she took down, he quickly cuts her off like he don't want to hear it, and he calls her Ravager, which very much feels like a we're not letting go of the past type of thing. But with the two of them working together under the magistrate, you also have this thing to where they've earned the nickname Dead or Alive, because Jason, he always brings in his bounty alive, and Rose, she never brings in her bounty alive. So because of that, the two of them have earned the nickname, and they also got like regular cops making bets on which way a person's gonna end up whenever these two take the call. But here's the thing, like when Rose shows up and they have this conversation, which starts off with her being upset because he didn't wake her up when he got up this morning and went after that bounty, but then also it isn't until Rose shows up, to where we see Jason speak to someone within this issue for the first time. But then it's also here towards the end of their conversation where he tells Rose why he came to this bar, shortly after leaving the crime scene. And he tells her like his reason for coming here is because the nearby soup kitchen, it's most likely the destination to where the Red Hood gang is taking the food that they stole from the truck. And in connection to that, his reasoning for coming to the bar, that was mainly because this bar and the soup kitchen, they're the only two places within this hood that aren't vandalized, which one shows a sign of respect but also shows a possible connection. And for that reason, Jason takes the phone from one of the guys who are like the loudest dudes kind of regulating who can come in and who can't, which also likely means like whatever's going on between this bar and the soup kitchen, that there's a good possibility that these guys are connected to it somewhere in between. And with knowing that, hopefully that connection will lead them to their bounty, who's highly likely to show up in this area sometime soon. And when he explains all of this to Rose, she's like, okay, let's go. But once again, he doesn't want her going with him because he knows all she's gonna do is just kill this guy and then move to the next one, which isn't enough for Jason because he's trying to do a little bit more than just catch a bounty. But then when Jason walks out with this dude's phone, Rose gets a little petty and she tells him like, okay, lose my number and don't call me next time you need somebody to dye your hair. And it's kind of funny that she mentions that with Jason Todd originally having red hair, which changed over the years, and I think it came back around like your Batman and Robin around like 2011 or somewhere around there. But to me, I also find it interesting because the whole concept with like future state moving into your infinite frontier, but still with going forward, everyone remembering their past all the way to the beginning. But with that being the case, it really has me interested in finding out like how everyone's past lines up, especially in the case of characters with multiple origins, whether it's due to relaunches or pre-crisis versus post-crisis. But it really just has me curious to know like how do these characters view their own past like from the beginning to now. But that'll probably be a topic for another time. But from here, Jason, he then takes the dude's cell phone, he goes over to the soup kitchen, and he just hits redial to see whose phone's gonna ring. And when this happens, it's like another case of where the goons, they don't keep a password on their phone, and then on top of that, you're secretly working with a Red Hood gang, and you got a red case on your phone. And when that phone leads you to the dude that you're looking for, just by hitting redial, it's like, oh man, you gotta tell these goons to be a little bit more smarter, you know, cover your tracks. But with Jason kicking down the door at the soup kitchen, like he finds the dude who had the Red Hood mask on, but dude takes off, and Jason tries to tell him like he's not trying to hurt him, but dude pulls a couple guns on him, doesn't work because, you know, still dealing with Red Hood. But Jason disarms this guy and he takes off again. But this time when he disarms the guy and he just runs around the corner, Rose meets him and she splits this dude in half. And right away, it's just like, well, we're not getting any information out of this guy. And whoever placed their bet in favor of Rose as far as the whole dead or alive pool, like they clearly took the pot on this one. But when this happens and they take the hood off of the guy, they realize it was just a regular dude, but then also there was some circuitry under the hood that very much resembled Mad Hatter technology. And initially when Jason sees this, like Rose, she's still trying to justify the means of cutting this dude in half. But Jason tells her it's likely that this dude was being mind controlled by the Mad Hatter, so now they gotta find the Hatter to figure out why. And from there, Jason leaves to go and find like where the Mad Hatter's hideout is, and he tells Rose like, call your regulars and get them to clean this up. But when he tells that to Rose and he goes to his bike, like Rose follows him with her head down, and probably because she's thinking like, well, you know, I probably shouldn't have killed this one. And I mean really, like Rose, you shouldn't have killed any of them. But even still, you can tell like she's having a moment where she knows she messed up. But when Jason gets on the bike, she just hops on behind him and she lets him know like she knows where the Mad Hatter's last location was, or at least where he's working out of, and that way they can at least start there. But when they get there, first Rose asks the question of like, why would the Hatter do the whole Red Hood thing? And like, what's the point of bringing back the Red Hood gang with it being likely that it would get Jason's attention? But then also Jason believes like that was the reason that it was done, to specifically draw him out, and with knowing that and them coming here, he's expecting for them to land into a bit of action. But instead, to their surprise, they then come to find out that the Mad Hatter has been dead, which only means that someone else has been using the Mad Hatter's technology this whole time. But then on top of that, like as soon as they find the Hatter's body, another mask alert goes off, but this time it's a bounty for Jason Todd, and he's wanted dead or alive for unlawful heroics, whatever that means. But this should be interesting, especially in the case of Rose, because at this point I'm not really sure if she's gonna help him out or lean towards the side of the magistrate and try to bring him in. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about Jason Todd working with the magistrate. Like, do you feel like he has a plan? Do you feel like he's trying to find Bruce? Like, I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts. So sound off in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.